So today's intro video was on 8.4. We're going to factor trinomials again. This time, however, you're going to notice that we will have a number in front of the x squared, which will change how we do our factoring. So go ahead and put your date on your table of contents, and we will get started. So this first slide is just here to help us see kind of what's happening with our factoring. If you look over on the right side, we have this polynomial, 3x squared plus 11x plus 6. Because of the 3 in front of the x squared, we can't just say what are factors of 6 that add up to 11, like we did from 8.3. As soon as you have a number in front of your x squared, that's your a value, we have to approach this differently. We're going to do a method called guessing and checking. So guess and check. So here's how we start with guess and check. We know that if we were to FOIL this problem out, that the 3x times the x should give us the 3x squared, right? And then we would multiply the outside and the inside terms. So let me just go ahead and do 3x squared, multiply the outside plus 6x, multiply the inside plus 2x, and multiply the last terms plus 6. And maybe you guys have already caught my mistake. That's not, oh, it's not going to let me erase it. It's not a 6x, that should be a 9x. All right, so we can see that the 3x squared comes from the 3x times x. And the 6 on the end comes from the 2 times 3. So those are the numbers that we're going to guess. We're going to figure out how do we multiply to get 3x squared, and how do we multiply to get the 6. And then from there we do our checking to see, are we going to get this 11x in the middle? And when you do that checking, this is about to get sloppy because I can't erase what I want to. We want to see if the outside terms, the outside and the inside, will combine to give us this 11x in the middle. So 3x times 3 is 9x, 2 times x is 2x, and then is a 9x plus a 2x equal to 11x. And because it worked out, then we know that it's factored correctly. So this kind of looks like a mess. Let's just start fresh with a new example. So when we factor this, you're going to go ahead and set up your two sets of parentheses. Here's what we know. We know that the first two terms have to multiply to give us this 9x squared. Well, you have a couple of options. You could do a 9x times an x, or you could do a 3x times a 3x. And because there's more than one option, this is why we guess and then check our answer. So maybe we'll start with the 9x times the x, so 9x and x. And the other thing that we know is that the second terms have to multiply to give us this positive 2. Well, what multiplies to give you a 2? A 2 times a 1. So we're going to go ahead and put the 2 and the 1 in there. And because everything's positive, that means that we're going to have positive signs there. All right, so here's our check. We already know that the 9x times the x gives us 9x squared, and the 2 times the 1 give us 2. So how do we get the 9x in the middle? We're going to check the outside terms and the inside terms. So if you multiply your outside terms, 9x times 1 is 9x, and multiply the inside terms, 2 times x is 2x, we want the 9x and the 2x to combine to give us the middle term up here. Well, 9x plus 2x is 11x. It didn't work out. It did not equal the 9x from the problem. So that means we guessed, we checked, and now we're going to guess again because it didn't work out. So keep erasing. Now when you check your answer and you have to guess again, first thing you might want to try is just switching those spots. Let's put the 1 here and the 2 here and see if that fixes it. So now check your outside terms and your inside terms. So 9x times 2 is 18x, and 1 times x is 1x. Well, 18x plus 1x equals 19x, which is not the 9x in the middle. All right, so this problem's taken us a little bit longer, but that's okay. So we've guessed twice and it didn't work out. at this point, we might want to try switching our factors. Instead of 9x and x, why don't we try the 3x's? So 3x and 3x. Now, we're going to keep the 2 and the 1 because, and the pluses, because there are no other factors to try besides 2 and 1. All right, so check your outside terms and your inside terms. 3x times 2 is 6x, and then 1 times 3x is 3x. So do you see how 9x plus 3x plus 6x equals the 9x in the middle? That tells me that we guessed correctly this time. So our final answer is 3x plus 1 and 3x plus 2. So this is the work that you can show on this, is show that you've checked the outside and the inside terms right here to get your final answer. All right, let's try another one. So 2x squared plus 7x plus 5. We'll see if this one goes any faster. The more you do these, the better you get at your checking or at your guessing, so that maybe we don't have to guess 3-4 times. So in the first spot, we have to have factors of 2x squared. Well, that's pretty much 2 is prime, so just a 2x times x gives us 2x squared. Now, in the second spots, we're going to have factors of 5. Well, that's kind of nice because factors of 5 are just going to be 1 and 5. So here's 1 and here's 5. And again, everything's addition, so we'll go ahead and say plus. Now we're going to check. 2x times 5 is 10x. 1 times x is a 1x. 10x plus x is 11x, and we want it to equal 7. So it didn't work out. So we're going to guess again. Now the first thing that you do to guess again is try switching your numbers around. What if we said plus the 5 and plus the 1? So now check. 2x plus 1, or 2x times 1 is 2x. 5 times x is 5x. 2x plus 5x is 7x, so we got it. This is our final answer right here. 2x plus 5, x plus 1. And we got there a little bit faster with this example. All right, last 2 examples for the intro video. Why I threw these in here because if you notice your leading term, this a value, is negative. You do not want to have your x squared term be negative. So if this happens, all that you have to do is factor out a negative 1. So if you factor a negative 1 out of the entire problem, that's going to leave you with a 2x squared minus 7x minus 4. Now we're going to go ahead and factor what's in here. So we notice that there's a number in front of our x squared, so we're going to guess and check. So we set our parentheses up. We know the first terms have to multiply to 2x squared. So 2x times x is 2x squared. Now the second ones have to multiply to a negative 7. And the more that you work on this, you'll kind of get better at your guessing. What I'm keeping in mind is the fact that I know that these 2 numbers get multiplied together and these 2 numbers get multiplied together. So I think about it in my head for a minute and I say, well, maybe, because over here we need factors of 4, I might put the 4 here and the 1 there and see how that works out. Knowing that 2x times 4 would give me the 8x, which is kind of close to the 7x. So that's what I thought about in my head, and that's why I picked to go with the 1 and the 4. So because they are positives and negatives, I'm going to make this a negative 4, so I get a negative 8x and a positive 2, and let's see if this worked out. So 2x times negative 4 is negative 8x, 1 times x is 1x, and is a negative 8x plus a 1x equal to negative 7x? It is, so we guessed right on the first time. So our final answer, we don't want to forget that we did factor out that negative 1 in the beginning. So the negative 1 comes down, and then we just write down the rest of our answer, 2x plus 1, x minus 4. And that is the final answer on that one. All right, last one, we notice that there is a negative in front of your polynomial. So let's go ahead and factor out a negative 1. Leaves you with 3x squared minus 19x plus 20. So we'll go ahead and set up our factoring. We're guessing and checking because of that 3 in front of the x squared. So we can say 3x times x gives us 3x squared. And 3 is prime, so those are really your only options. Now we need factors of 20 to go in the second spot. So factors of 20, 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5, and see if we can get there with any of those. So maybe I'll try a 5 and a 4. Because it has to multiply to a positive 20, but I can see that we're adding up to a negative 19, I'm going to go ahead and make both of these negative. So there's our guess. We'll do our check and see outside and inside terms. 3x times negative 4 is a negative 12x. Negative 5 times x is a negative 5x, which if you add those together you get negative 17x, so it did not work. So we're going to guess again. And when we guess again, the first thing we try is, how about if we switch our numbers? So I'm going to go ahead and make the 5 second and the 4 first. Now when we check, 3x times negative 5 is negative 15x. Negative 4 times x is a negative 4x. And does that combine to give us this negative 19x? And it does. So we got our answer. We'll go ahead and write it down, but let's not forget about that negative 1. 3x minus 4, and then x minus 5. There is your final answer.